Hi everyone, it's Kenny Imafidon, and it's a real pleasure to be contributing to this series and just getting to share my thoughts with you all. So I'm very keen to hear your feedback and just what you have to say in regards to whatever I share today. So even when I think about the topic of racism, and I think about when people ask me this question of, is Britain racist? For me, I just look at the fact of, let's look at the stats and let's look at the research that's been done. Like, I'm a researcher, that's my background, so let's look at the evidence. Now, when you hear stats like the ones I'm going to share now, you can come to your own conclusion. So black people are nearly 10 times more likely to be stopped and searched by police than white people. Right? Now think about it. And when you think about stop and search in general, over 80% of them result in no arrest. But black people are more likely to be stopped and searched than white people. Remember, 10 times more likely. And we're even more likely to be stopped for like drugs, even though we're less likely to take them. Right? So that's just one area. Then when you even think about policing practices, even in regards to the whole lockdown and the police giving out fines, the evidence also shows that you are 7 times more likely to be given a fine if you're from a black, Asian or minority ethnic background during lockdown. Now let's take it to employment. Black people are twice as likely to be unemployed compared to our white counterparts. And even when we do get employment, we're also paid less on average than white people. And even when we take it now, we think about COVID, right? And everybody was like, COVID doesn't discriminate and everyone is affected. That is true. However, people from the black community in particular and other minority communities in the UK, we are further discriminated and affected by this issue. The fact that if you are from a black, Asian, minority ethnic background, you are twice as likely to die from COVID than people of white, British ethnicity. And then even someone like me, a black man, I am 3 times more likely to die of COVID than a white man. And then when we even take it to like childbirth, for example, and we look at black women in particular, they are 5 times more likely to die in childbirth than white women, which for me is just crazy. And then now when we even take it to like areas such as like mental health, we see that black people are 4 times as likely to be detained than white people. Now when you hear those stats, this is just even a few that I'm sharing with you. There's even way more I could share. For me, the answer speaks for itself, right? And people can come to their own conclusion. But for me, the real thing that we need to focus on is not really about having this conversation about, is Britain racist, because institutional racism and systemic racism exist, and we know that so much things have been just like racialized, you know what I mean, over the years, decades, however long it's been. But I would say from my perspective, the real key thing that we need to focus on is how can particularly people who are not black not just be allies for people in our community, but actually focus on being anti-racist, which for me is where we can make a real difference, right? Because we need to really commit to being anti-racist as a society, right? There's a difference between being anti-racist and being like an ally, do you know what I mean, in terms of this fight to end this virus of racism, right? So being non-racist, for me, you are still part of the problem, and you could be passively being complicit in enabling racism to continue in our society. However, if you commit to be more than an ally and wholeheartedly believe that racism is not just a black problem for black people to solve, but that racism is in fact everyone's problem, and therefore everyone should play a role in bringing it to an end. And for me, one of the best ways I've seen anti-racism being best described, it means like anti-racism is a commitment to fight racism wherever you find it, including in yourself. And for me, that is truly the only way forward. And that's one of the best descriptions I've seen from it and seen on anti-racism. And I feel like as a society, that's what we should be focusing on. How can we, particularly those who are not from the black community, focus on being anti-racist, right? Because the truth is, right now we have no equal level playing field at all, and that people from our community, our rights are not protected equally as others, and that is the truth. And for me, what we're seeing right now, we're just seeing atrocities such as the murder of George Floyd, and we're just seeing all this stuff now, but just because it's on camera. But this has always been happening, and now the world has become alive to what we've been going through day in, day out. But things can change, and things will change, but that change starts with you, and you playing your part in being part of the solution and not the problem. Yeah. Interested to hear your thoughts. Thank you.